Beautiful. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another ShareWise webinar. My name is Lachlan Callahan. Disregard the Ryan below me, but my name is Lachlan Callahan, host for today. Obviously, we're joined by Managing Director and CEO Riccardo Canevari. It's going to be very interesting. There's a few key topics that we want to be talking about. Obviously, funding is going to be key investors, dual listing of the Nasdaq as well, and also the commercial potential for 3 clinical programs. So obviously, Radiopharm Theranostics is listed on the ASX. But for yourself, Riccardo, obviously talking to you backstage, you sound like a very interesting man. Well, tell us a bit more about your history and what got you started with the company.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan, for having me. Thanks everybody for joining. So Radiopharm Theranostics is a relatively young company. I mean, we have created the company 3 years ago, like 3.5 years ago. So still young, but a lot of things, of course, happen. So the focus of the company, the core business, is radiopharmaceutical. Radiopharmaceutical imaging and therapies, and our higher focus is on therapies. That's what we really want to develop. Imaging are important, but the core of the core will be the therapeutic opportunity with our molecule. It is a sector that is growing extremely well, thanks to a number of companies, including companies in Australia, company in US, and there is a very significant M&A activity, considering that a number of big pharma took the opportunity to enter this market, this segment of the oncology market, with acquisition. So we have now big name. It was mainly only Novartis and Bayer some years ago, and now we see AstraZeneca, we see BMS, we see Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, all making some steps in. So we consider that this will be very beneficial for the sector.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, just for those members and guests that are here today, with all the questions that you are submitting, we'll try and get to them at the end. But apart from that, Riccardo, if you want to start with your presentation, I look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, sure. I will try to stay probably in 15 minutes, and so we can leave some time for Q&A. These are my disclaimer as a company listed on the ASX. So Radiopharm Theranostics has a deep pipeline of imaging and therapeutic products, in particular for a company of our size. We do have 3 molecules that are in clinical stage, and we have additional 3 molecules that are in late preclinical. This has been a significant advancement for the company. As I mentioned before, we are a 3.5-year-old baby, and no, we were able to bring some late preclinical molecule in our pipeline and advance. So the fact that already 3 molecules transition from preclinical to clinical stage is an important achievement. Also, what is unique about the company is our focus on mechanism of action that are extremely innovative. So we don't have products that we call me too, where a lot of competition is present and where we might risk to be number 5 or number 6 in the market. We really selected our molecule with the ambition to be either number 1 or number 2. And that's important because we are bringing innovation not only to the market, but most important to the patients. What is equally important beyond the pipeline is the ability to have enough fund and resources to execute. And thanks to our recent capital raise that was concluded in July, August of this year, we were able to raise 70 million Australian dollar. We had a very important strategic partner that is Lantheus. Lantheus is the single core business player in the market. Of course, there are other companies, but they have multiple business. If we talk about core player radiopharmaceutical only, Lantheus is the #1 company. And so we were very pleased by the fact that they decided to invest in RAD. And in addition to the initial investment of 7.5 million Australian dollars for 7% of the company, they have an option to invest an additional 7.5 million Australian in the next 3 months. So this is very positive for us. We have budgeted all our future expenses to support our clinical trial, and we have a runway that will take us to June 2026 or potentially beyond. So now is really the time for us to execute on all the molecule that you see on screen as a key priority. This is the traditional way of showing our pipeline. As you said, Ryan, today we will focus on the top 3 molecules that are in clinical stage. But let me give a brief overview, because also the molecules that are in preclinical are interesting. And let me start from the bottom of the page, as we have more opportunity to focus on the top 3. So in preclinical stage, we do have a monoclonal antibody targeting B7H3. This molecule is coming from MD Anderson. We do a joint venture with MD Anderson. Due to this joint venture, we have an agreement that they develop 4 therapeutic molecules. Only one has been disclosed externally, that is the one that you can see on the screen, the B7H3. The other 3 are still undisclosed. And of course, MD Anderson is the #1 cancer care center in the world, and our collaboration is going extremely well. So we are very positive and confident about this molecule, and we have the plan to bring to IND approval and start the phase 1 therapeutic in mid-2025. The second preclinical molecule is the KLK3 monoclonal antibody. Is in an area where radiopharmaceuticals are doing well, prostate cancer, but this is a different mechanism of action from the traditional approach that is about targeting PSMA. So this molecule is a therapeutic molecule. We have completed the great majority of the preclinical work. We need to finish on the manufacturing, on the CMC, and also we are targeting 2025 to start the phase 1. And they close the preclinical with the third molecule, is an integrin alpha beta beta 6. This type of receptor is expressed in multiple solid tumors. You can find in pancreatic cancer, in non-small cell lung cancer, in head and neck. And here we have both an imaging and the therapeutic. The imaging is already in phase 1, has been approved by FDA, and we are conducting this trial in US, and we are working to advance the therapeutic. So we will have both imaging and therapeutic. And also this molecule will come into clinics probably at the end of 2025. So the 3 molecules that you see under preclinical are projects for next year that will join our pipeline, moving from being preclinical to being clinical. But we already have 3 molecules that are in clinical stage. These are the ones that you see on top. And let me go briefly one by one. But before that, I was thinking to present this slide later, but is what I already shared. The company is, of course, listed on the ASX with the symbol RAD. We have announced to the market our plan to be dual listed on the Nasdaq, and we can discuss later, Ryan. But clearly, the recent capital raise for us was important to transform the investor base. We were a company that has 99% retail investment in Australia, and now we have a large portion of institutions. But let's be back on the pipeline and the top 3 products. The first one is an imaging agent in the advanced stage of development. We have already conducting preclinical phase 1, phase 2A, and now we receive from FDA approval for a phase 2B imaging trial. This molecule is targeting fatty acid synthetase, and there is a very high unmet medical need for patients with brain metastases. Brain metastases are a secondary tumor. So usually patient that has different type of cancer, can be breast cancer, lung cancer, melanoma, they develop some metastasis in the brain during the life of their disease. And when the brain metastases happen, of course, prognosis becomes more poor. So it is important to have an imaging agent that can help the physician to distinguish from metastases that are still active versus metastases that has been treated successfully. It's a big market. Only in US, there are 300,000 new patients diagnosed every year with brain metastases. It's pretty much the same size of prostate cancer, just to give comparison. As I mentioned, we did phase 1, phase 2A, and now we are working on our phase 2B in US. This trial will be in 4 or 5 centers. We have discussed with them already. We receive a lot of positive feedback and enthusiasm, and we have an aggressive plan to start dosing the first patient in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Of course, it's not guaranteed, something can always happen, but that's our plan. We want to have patient number 1 before the end of the year. This is the trial design. Again, as I mentioned before, is very important to compare RAD 101 or pivalate with standard of care, that is MRI, and we want to be sure that with what technically you have a limited number of false positive or false negative. So what this means that the imaging is extremely accurate and can help physician with a better diagnosis. So we receive IND approval in mid-2024. As I mentioned, we are targeting the first patient of the phase 2B before the end of the year. And in 2025, we plan to release to the market 2 data points. The first release will be when we achieve 10 patients out of 30, so 1/3 of the trial. Considering that this is an open label trial, we like to disclose the data about this first 10 patients. And we expect this to be around June of 2025. And then by the end of the year, we will disclose the top line data of the entire trial. The second technology is a therapeutic molecule targeting PD-L1 expression. This trial is already ongoing in Australia. The molecule is a single domain monoclonal antibody, and we are the first company that has a radiopharmaceutical PD-L1 in development. PD-L1 is a well-known mechanism of action, but more like using monoclonal antibody or potentially using ADC. Actually, there is one ADC in development from Pfizer, but there are no radiopharmaceutical in development. And that's the innovation that I was mentioning before. So it's a very important trial. We received ethics approval in Australia in the first half of 2024. We have announced our first patient at Wollongong Hospital. Recently, Nepean Hospital in the north of Sydney has opened and is ready to enroll. And last week, we received from ethics committee the opportunity to expand the trial. So the patient will not be only patient with non-small cell lung cancer, but we are going to be able to enroll patient with additional 5 types of tumor, bringing the total to 6 different tumor types. This will help us also to further accelerate the recruitment. And so we have 2 important clinical milestones for 2025. very similar to the trial that we saw before. So we expect to release some data by June, and then to release the entire data of the trial by the end of the year. So as you can see, our intention is to keep the market extremely informed on the advancement of the trial, and not only communicate at the end, but also during it. And I like to close with the third clinical molecule is called RAD 202. In this case, we are talking patient with breast and gastroesophageal cancer. The monoclonal antibody, again, is linked with isotope. The isotope is lutetium-177, and we are targeting the patient that are refractory to ADC trastuzumab. This is a very large market, and a market that will continue to grow, where there is an important need to offer new solution to those patients. If we discuss about milestone, we have submitted last month to the ethics committee our request of approval. We are positive in thinking that we can receive ethics approval in the next 4 weeks, so before the end of the year. And again, 2025 will be a busy year with dosing the first patient, reporting the first data. And this trial started about 6 months after the previous one. So the final readout will be also 6 months after, so the first half of 2026. But again, you can see opportunity to keep the market very well informed. So that's the overview of the company. I hope I was not too long. I'm happy to take any question on the pipeline, on the company, or anything that is of interest.
Yeah, we do have a few questions that come through, mainly to do with a few of the other RADs molecules that we have. For example, molecule RAD 301, the readout, is that still expected for year end of 2024?
Yeah, so this molecule is in phase 1. I have to say that recruitment has been slower than we expected. This is due to the fact that pancreatic cancer is very debilitating. And we had a number of patients that were ready for the trial, and then they have to cancel their visit really at the last day. So it's a difficult population to treat, and that's why we would like to do the imaging in pancreatic cancer. But as you can see here, the therapeutic will be not only in pancreatic cancer, but also in other indications. So we are moving faster with the therapeutic preparation because we don't want the imaging slowdown, if you like, to impact on the therapeutic. That is the most important. So we see the imaging trial as a proof of concept. We already have a lot of patient data. We are confident that the trial will be positive, and will allow us to move to therapeutic part as soon as possible. So a little bit slower than expected, to be fair, but this will not impact the most important part of the molecule, that is developing a therapeutic option.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've got another question here. Can you comment on the Lantheus RAD 204, I believe is what they're referring to, the phase 2, which we believe to be close to completion with the NCT 04992715. What would that success mean for RAD?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a very technical question, so the audience is very well prepared. That is great. So it's absolutely correct. So we do have the global rights for the therapeutic, that is called RAD 204, and Lantheus has the global rights for the imaging agent. So it's the same molecule, but for imaging only. Their trial, called Pelican trial, has been concluded, and the data will be reported. But of course, this is not our trial, so I cannot say when this data will be presented. The phase 1 was positive, So I'm sure that Lantheus is aiming to replicate the phase 1 data. Now, there is no direct impact or implication for us as we are already developing the therapeutic. But of course, this can become a very nice typical theranostic pair where you have the imaging to identify the patient and then the therapeutic. So of course, we wish all the success to Lantheus for this trial.
Yeah, beautiful. Another question: with the with the molecule RAD 101 imaging is successful, would RAD look to commercialize alone, or would a license to a bigger partner be a better approach?
Look, we will look at both options. At this time, my preferred option will be to find a partner and to use the potential funds for the therapeutic molecule. As I mentioned at the beginning, imaging is important, but therapeutic is really another level. I mean, usually therapeutics molecule have 10 times, 5 to 10 times the potential of the imaging one. So, and it's also kind of a different business model also to commercialize. So first of all, we want to be sure that the data are positive. And if the data are positive, we will be proactive in looking for partnership. So we can use the non-dilutive funds that we receive to allocate to the therapeutic molecules.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we've got a few questions here, more or less highlighting on data points and milestones. Riccardo, obviously things take time and they come in at different points and you can't control everything, but with obviously with our preclinical and clinical phases that we're going through now, what's it looking like? Is everything looking like it's on track?
Yes, look, I would say, let me go to the 3 clinical molecule that we have here. If we look at Pivalate, these timelines is what we expected. So usually in US, from an IND approval to the first patient treated, usually takes about 7 to 9 months. Some centers don't even start preparing for the trial if you don't have an IND approval. And then there is the whole exercise of feasibility, budgeting, contracting. So if we treat our first patient in phase 2B by the end of December, we would have done this in 6 months. So faster than average. And the recruiting times for 2025 at the moment looks very realistic. We have spoken with 6 to 7 centers. 4 of them are extremely enthusiastic. So I think that recruitment will go well. The second one is also showing a lot of progresses. Our PDL1 trial in Australia, you know, you start with 1 center, then you expand to other, and then you expand the indication. All of these give you the possibility to build a recruitment rate that is not linear, but is the typical, if you want, hockey stick, where you start slow, but then you gain momentum because you have more center and more patient type. So we had, last year, we had some difficulties in financing the company in the first part of the year. So we had to slow down some programs. But now, thanks to the recent capital raise, we were able to restart full speed. So I think that 2025 will be a very important year for us. And personally, I'm extremely positive.
Beautiful, beautiful. Obviously, listening to the US, there's going to be a bit of marketing, talking to other brokers and hopefully other pharmaceutical companies over there as well. Is there been interest shown from US pharma and US instos to buy RAD shares once they list on the Nasdaq? Is this the sort of thing that the board has been looking at for the US market?
Look, the decision to enter the Nasdaq while keeping ASX as a primary market is a strategic decision, exactly for the reason that you said. You have more visibility to US funds, you have more visibility for big pharma when you are in that market. Now, nothing happened in few days and nothing happened in few months. So even when we will be listed, it's logical to expect that for the first few months, the volume trade will be quite low because we don't do a capital raise. We don't do an IPO raising extra money that will create attention. So we need to build the presence with the information, the press releases of the clinical results. So I also expect that if we list at the end of 2024, as we expect, during 2025, there is going to be a progression in terms of visibility and volume of share trade. At the beginning, when we have low volume, it's difficult that somebody will jump in and buy because, you know, it will move the price too much. Yeah. But as soon as the volume goes up, this will make more attractive for investment on the market.
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, for those new investors that are probably joining us today, Riccardo, what are some of the comments that you could make about the journey ahead and more or less the plan to commercialization for these molecules that you have?
Look, from biotech company in oncology, and frequently not only in oncology, you measure the progresses in inflection point. Now, the biggest inflection point for a biotech company is when it's a therapeutic products, but the products in general, is achieving positive phase 2 data. This is the biggest inflection point for any biotech. After that, of course, is a different trajectory. So we do have here 5 therapeutics molecules, and if we can bring 1 or 2 to successful phase 2 data, that would be a huge inflection point for the company. So that's what we are focusing. We have multiple shots on goal. Who is investing in RAD is not having a binary investment that is yes and no. Something can go right, something can go wrong, but we have 5 therapeutic molecules, and we are advancing all of them. And we will keep de-risking the pipeline, moving ahead and treating patients and learning more. So first of all, I would like to think about bringing a couple of molecules to successful phase 2 data. And then at the time is a different discussion of what is the right capabilities of the company in bringing the products to commercialization, partner, sell, all the options will be open. But the focus that we have as a team is a successful phase 1, a successful phase 2, first of all.
Beautiful, beautiful. And hopefully we can hear about those milestones rather soon. That'll be very exciting for everyone. But I think we might wrap it up with a few of those questions just there. Is there any final comments you want to leave to existing shareholders or new potential investors?
No, look, as I said, 3.5 years seems short time for a company, but we had a lot of events. We started with IPO at the time of the peak of the biotech market. After that, we suffered 2 very difficult years. It was very difficult to raise money. We had to go more to bridge investment. This creates lack of trust in the market because, of course, if you raise just a little bit, everybody knows that after 3 months or 4, you are there again and at the lower price. So it's not been easy, but we kept working and advancing our molecule, and we were able to build some credibility in the market. Lantheus in the pharmaceutical market, Lantheus was attracted by this possibility, enter as a major shareholder, has the possibility to become, with their option, the #1 shareholder of the company. And now we have the funds. So we will just keep working and executing. That's why I said before, I'm very positive about 2025 because we never had that amount of money and this amount of molecule that are either already in clinical stage or close to clinical stage. So yeah, full focus on 2025 and first half of 2026. And I'm happy if we have an opportunity in not into distant future, Ryan, to have another update for your viewers.
I'd love to have you back on, Riccardo. That'd be definitely in the works. But what I'll say is thank you for everyone attending the webinar today. If we didn't get to your question, please we'll try and submit them through so Riccardo and his team can answer them for you at a later date. But apart from that, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. And the recording will be up online for everyone to share and watch in their own time as well. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.